Commander Jaiwo Park stood at the viewport of the human diplomatic vessel Harmony, watching the alien space station grow larger. The massive structure gleamed against the backdrop of stars, its spiral arms rotating slowly. 15 years had passed since humanity's first contact with alien life, yet they were still fighting for respect. "They're hailing us, Commander," said Lieutenant Dohayan, his fingers dancing across the communications panel. "Standard greeting protocols." Jaiwo nodded, straightening her dark blue uniform. "Respond as trained. Let's not give them any reason to look down on us today." The Harmony docked at the Galactic Diplomatic Station, home to representatives from 12 spacefaring civilizations. Humanity was the 13th and newest. As Jaiwo led her small team through the airlock, she felt the familiar weight of responsibility. Every human action was scrutinized, every word analyzed. "Remember," she told her team quietly, "we represent all of Earth today." The station's interior was a marvel of alien engineering. Ceilings soared 30 meters high in the main concourse. Different atmospheric zones allowed various species to exist comfortably. Jaiwo's team passed through a shimmering barrier that adjusted the air to human preferences. "Commander Park, welcome." A tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms bowed slightly. "I am Station Director Lamar. Your delegation is expected in the Grand Hall." The Grand Hall lived up to its name. A massive dome of what looked like glass revealed the stars beyond. Representatives from a dozen worlds mingled, their translators creating a background hum of conversation. Admiral Krell, a reptilian Vezak military leader, approached Jaiwo immediately. His scales shimmered green and gold in the light, and his vertical pupils narrowed as he looked down at her. "The human delegation arrives," he said, mandibles clicking. "You've upgraded your ship since last year. Almost modern by galactic standards." Jaiwo smiled politely. "We learn quickly, Admiral." "Indeed." Krell gestured with a clawed hand. "Your species has such quaint conflicts. Fighting over land when there are whole solar systems to claim. Dying for ideologies when resources are the only true concern in the galaxy." Jaiwo was formulating a diplomatic response when alarms blared through the hall. Red lights flashed along the walls. "What's happening?" she demanded, instantly alert. "Trivial matter," Krell said dismissively. "The Brakani and Vormec delegations have disagreed again." "It happens regularly." But Jaiwo could see it was more than a disagreement. Through the crowd, she spotted security forces rushing toward the East Wing. The station's communication system crackled to life. All diplomats returned to quarters. Security situation in progress. Jaiwo touched her communication device. "Dohayan, Mayang, meet me at East Junction 7 with our security team. Full tactical gear." "Commander," Krell warned, "this is not your concern. If violence threatens this station, it threatens my people too," Jaiwo replied, already moving. She reached the junction as her team arrived. Lieutenant Mayang carried their tactical equipment. Through nearby viewports, Jaiwo could see 2 alien groups engaged in physical combat. Station security forces prepared to rush in, weapons drawn. "They'll just create more casualties that way," Jaiwo muttered. She quickly studied the layout. "Dohayan, deploy sonic disruptors at these points. Mayang, take 2 officers and secure this corridor. We'll create a containment zone instead of direct engagement." Her team moved with practiced efficiency. The sonic disruptors created uncomfortable frequency barriers, channeling the combatants away from each other. Jaiwo's security officers took strategic positions that cut off escape routes while minimizing direct confrontation. Within minutes, the fighting aliens found themselves separated and contained, with no casualties on either side. Station Director Lamar arrived, followed by representatives from several worlds, including the ever-present Admiral Krell. "Your intervention was unexpected," Lamar said to Jaiwo. "But effective. The standard protocol would have resulted in injuries. Probably deaths," Jaiwo corrected quietly. Their weapons were drawn. Admiral Krell studied her with new interest. "You contained the situation without superior numbers or firepower. Curious approach." Humans have long experience with conflict resolution, Admiral. Sometimes the most effective strategy isn't the most obvious one. Later, as the diplomatic reception resumed, Jaiwo noticed a change. The alien representatives kept glancing her way, their previous dismissiveness replaced with something new: calculation. "They're reassessing us," Do-Hyun said quietly as he brought her a drink. Jaiwo nodded. "Good. They should know that humanity isn't just another species to dismiss or push around." Admiral Krell approached again, his posture different now. "Commander Park, I find myself interested in human military history. Perhaps we could discuss it sometime." "I'd be happy to, Admiral," Jaiwo replied with a slight smile. "You might be surprised by what you learn." As the night continued, Jaiwo felt a shift in the diplomatic atmosphere. For the first time since joining the galactic community, humanity wasn't being treated as the primitive newcomer. They had shown something the others understood well: competence in crisis. And in this gathering of spacefaring powers, that spoke louder than any words. The blue glow of the archive screens cast shadows across Jaiwo's face as she scrolled through another historical record. For 3 days, she had barely left this quiet room deep within the diplomatic station, reviewing the military history of galactic civilizations. "This can't be right," she muttered, pushing back from the console. Taehyun Kim, the station's human military historian, looked up from his own work. "Found something troubling?" Jaiwo rubbed her tired eyes. "I've reviewed 7 major interspecies conflicts now. Each one ended the same way: total destruction of the losing side or unconditional surrender. The Zoral-Paxian War destroyed 3 habitable planets. The Meridian Campaign wiped out an entire species." Taehyun nodded grimly. "Most species see war as absolute. You win completely or you lose completely." "But that's not how conflict works," Jaiwo protested. "There are degrees, negotiations, strategic withdrawals." "Not in galactic warfare," Taehyun said, walking to her station. He tapped a few controls, bringing up new images. "Look at the Borax Rebellion 60 years ago." The screen filled with images of a beautiful blue-green world. Then came the orbital bombardment. In the recordings, massive energy weapons fired from ships in orbit. Continents burned. Oceans boiled. 3 billion dead in 6 hours, Taehyun said quietly. The remainder surrendered unconditionally. Jaiwo felt cold despite the room's comfortable temperature. "No wonder they think we're primitive. We've spent centuries developing rules of engagement, laws of war." "To them, that's weakness," Taehyun replied. "Why limit yourself when fighting?" The door to the archive slid open, admitting a tall, slender alien with pale green skin. Jaiwo recognized Sunho, a junior diplomat from the Velran Confederacy. "Commander Park," Sunho said, bowing slightly. "I was told I might find you here." Jaiwo stood. "What can I help you with?" Sunho glanced at Taehyun, then back to Jaiwo. "Perhaps we could speak privately?" Once they were alone in a small side chamber, Sunho's formal demeanor changed. He leaned closer, speaking quietly. "I risk much by telling you this, but I believe humans deserve warning. The Corda fleet has changed course. They now head toward human space." Jaiwo felt her stomach tighten. The Cordu were an expansionist species known for aggressive territorial acquisition. "How soon?" she asked. 3 of your months, perhaps 4. But that is not the worst news. Sunho's voice dropped even lower. The council voted yesterday on intervention. They decided against it. They won't help us? Most believe humans will simply be conquered. One less competitor for resources. Sunho looked genuinely regretful. "I disagree with this view." Jaiwa's mind raced. Earth had advanced quickly since first contact, but they were nowhere near ready to face a full Cordu invasion force. "Thank you for the warning," she said. "But why tell me? Won't this put you at risk?" Sunho hesitated. "I reviewed your handling of the diplomatic incident 3 days ago. Your approach was unusual. Effective without being destructive. It made me curious about human military thinking. He gestured toward the archive screens. What have you learned from these records? That galactic warfare lacks nuance, Jaiwo replied honestly. It's about overwhelming force rather than strategy. Sunho nodded. The core do especially. They simply crush opposition through superior numbers. But that's not always effective, Jaiwo argued. History is full of examples where smaller forces defeated larger ones through better strategy. Human history, perhaps, Sunho said. I would like to learn more about this. Later that evening, Jaiwo met with Taehyun in her quarters. The historian had brought additional records, these from Earth's military history. If we have only 3 months, we need to convince the Council that humanity is worth saving, Jaiwo said, studying a tactical simulation of a potential Cordu attack. How? We can't match them technologically. No, but we might surprise them with how we think. Jaiwo stood and began pacing. What if we organized a demonstration? War games to show our approach to conflict. Taehyun looked skeptical. Who would participate? Admiral Krell seemed interested in human military history after the incident. And Sunho clearly wants to learn more. It's risky, Taehyun warned. We might just confirm their belief that we're primitive. Or we might show them that humanity's approach to warfare makes us valuable allies, not easy prey. Jaiwo stopped pacing and looked at the tactical display again. Throughout our history, humans rarely won through superior numbers or technology. We won through adaptation, psychology, and understanding our enemies. You really think the aliens will care? They might when they see that the same principles could help them against the Cordu. Jaiwo's expression hardened with determination. Contact Admiral Krell. Tell him I'd like to discuss human military history with practical demonstrations. Taehyun nodded slowly. And if this fails? Then I need to get back to Earth immediately to prepare our defenses. Jaiwo stared at the simulation showing the Cordu fleet's projected path. Either way, we have very little time. As Taehyun left to make arrangements, Jaiwo turned back to the archives. She began pulling records from Earth's military history, guerrilla warfare, asymmetric conflict, psychological operations. If galactic civilization thought humans were simple and primitive warriors, they were about to learn a valuable lesson. The simulation chamber hummed with energy as the alien officers took their positions. The large circular room featured advanced holographic technology that could create realistic battle scenarios. Jaiwo stood at the control station, watching as Admiral Krell and representatives from 6 other species prepared for the first demonstration. This is a waste of time, muttered a tall Vazak officer, adjusting his ceremonial armor. Human military tactics are primitive at best. Perhaps, Admiral Krell replied, his reptilian eyes fixed on Jaiwo. But I find myself curious. Jaiwo nodded to Lieutenant Myung at the controls. Begin Simulation 1. The chamber darkened, then transformed into a rugged mountain landscape. A narrow pass cut between towering peaks. The alien officers found themselves in command of a large force equipped with advanced weapons and vehicles. Facing them was a much smaller human contingent defending the pass. Your objective is to capture the pass, Jaiwo explained. Our forces will defend. Begin when ready. Admiral Krell ordered a direct frontal assault, using superior numbers to overwhelm the defenders. It seemed logical, their force outnumbered the humans 5-1. But as the alien forces pushed forward, they encountered unexpected resistance. The human defenders used the terrain masterfully, striking from hidden positions and disappearing before counterattacks could be mounted. They collapsed small sections of the pass, channeled the attackers into kill zones, and used minimal resources to maximum effect. Within 20 minutes, the alien assault had stalled completely. This is not war, complained a Meridian commander. This is trickery. This is adaptation, Jaiwo corrected as the simulation ended. When outmatched, humans find ways to use terrain and mobility to offset numerical disadvantages. The second simulation placed them in an urban environment. This time, the aliens adjusted their approach, moving more cautiously. But the human defenders had prepared the battlefield, creating false targets, using decoys, and engaging in psychological operations that confused the alien command structure. By the third simulation, a naval battle with limited resources, the alien observers had grown silent, their dismissiveness replaced with focused attention. "You used deception as a primary strategy," noted Tejo, a Velran strategist who had joined the group. "You appear weak where you are strong, and strong where you are weak." "Deception is one tool," Jaiwoo agreed. "But there's more to it than that." The fourth simulation demonstrated asymmetric warfare, how a technologically inferior force could effectively combat a superior one through unconventional tactics. The human forces avoided direct confrontation, instead targeting supply lines, communications, and morale. "You don't fight to destroy your enemy's forces directly," Admiral Krell observed. "You fight to destroy their ability and will to fight." "Sometimes that's the only option available," Jaiwoo replied. For the final demonstration, Jaiwoo took a risk. She programmed a historical simulation of Earth's Cold War, how humans had developed weapons capable of destroying their entire civilization, then created complex systems to prevent their use. The aliens watched with growing confusion as the simulation showed the buildup of nuclear arsenals, followed by treaties, verification systems, and strategic doctrines designed specifically to ensure these weapons would never be deployed. "You developed weapons you didn't intend to use?" asked Tejo, clearly puzzled. "We developed weapons we hoped never to use," Jaiwoo corrected. The doctrine of mutually assured destruction meant that using these weapons guaranteed one's own destruction as well. "So the weapons were pointless?" asked a Meridian officer. "No," Admiral Krell said slowly, understanding dawning in his reptilian features. "The weapons served their purpose precisely by not being used. Their existence prevented conflict." Jaiwoo nodded. "Sometimes the most effective war is the one you avoid fighting entirely." The chamber fell silent as the aliens processed this concept. Many seemed troubled by it, others fascinated. Admiral Krell was about to speak when emergency klaxons sounded throughout the station. Red warning lights flashed. "What's happening?" Jaiwoo demanded, moving to the communication panel. The station's AI responded immediately, "Alert! Unidentified vessels have entered the system. Weapons signatures detected. All personnel to emergency stations." The simulation room's doors slid open as station security officers rushed in. "Commander Park, we need to evacuate all diplomats immediately." "Who's attacking?" Admiral Krell demanded. "Cordo Scout Fleet," the security officer replied. 3 warships. They opened fire on our outer defenses without warning." Jaiwoo and Admiral Krell exchanged a look of understanding. The Cordu had arrived earlier than expected. "I need to reach my ship," Jaiwoo said. "The docking bays are under attack," the security officer reported. "No vessels can launch at this time." "Then we defend the station," Jaiwoo replied without hesitation. She turned to the alien officers. "This is no longer a simulation. Are you with me?" Admiral Krell stepped forward. "It seems we will have a chance to apply your tactical lessons sooner than expected, Commander." As they hurried from the simulation chamber, Tejo caught up with Jaiwoo. "The Cordu never send scout ships unless the main fleet is nearby. This is just the beginning." "I know," Jaiwoo replied grimly. "But right now, we focus on surviving this attack. Then we can worry about what comes next." Behind them, the simulation chamber's screen still displayed the Cold War scenario, a reminder that sometimes the greatest military achievement wasn't winning a war, but preventing one entirely. Now they faced an enemy that understood no such restraint. 3 months after the attack on the diplomatic station, Jaiwoo stood in Earth's unified military headquarters beneath Mount Hala. The massive underground complex had been expanded hastily in recent weeks to accommodate their new allies. Representatives from 5 alien species now worked alongside human officers, studying tactical displays and preparing defense plans. "The main Corda fleet will reach Jupiter's orbit in 14 days, announced General Hyunjin Lee, pointing to the holographic display at the center of the command room. The projection showed thousands of red dots approaching Earth's solar system. Their invasion force numbers approximately 30,000 vessels. They outnumber our combined fleet 15 to 1, noted Sungo, the Velran ambassador who had first warned Jaiwu about the Kordu threat. His green skin looked pale under the harsh lighting. Then we'll have to be smarter, Jaiwu replied calmly. Humanity has rarely won through superior numbers. After the Kordu scout fleet had attacked the diplomatic station, Jaiwu had expected to flee home alone to warn Earth. Instead, she found herself traveling with representatives from several species who had witnessed her wargame demonstrations. Admiral Krell himself had accompanied her, bringing valuable tactical information about Kordu battle strategies. The Kordu have conquered 12 systems in the past century, said Admiral Krell, studying the display. They always follow the same pattern: overwhelming force applied directly. They do not adapt well to unexpected resistance. Then we give them something unexpected, Jaiwu suggested. The alliance had formed quickly after that. The Velrans, impressed by human adaptability, offered advanced shield technology. The Vizak, led by Admiral Krell, provided faster-than-light drive improvements in weapons systems. 3 other species joined as well, each bringing technology or resources. We've completed the defensive preparations at Europa Colony, reported Lieutenant Dohayan, pointing to Jupiter's moon on the display. The Kordu will likely strike there first, as it guards the approach to Earth. Are the special modifications complete? Asked Jaiwu. Yes, Commander. The colony appears much weaker than it actually is. We've hidden our main defenses exactly as planned. Over the next 2 weeks, they watched as the Kordu fleet approached. The first battle erupted at Europa Colony. Everyone in Earth's command center held their breath as they monitored the conflict. The Kordu attacked with typical brute force, sending wave after wave of ships against Europa's seemingly minimal defenses. But the human commanders had prepared thoroughly. They had hidden their true strength while creating the impression of weakness where they were actually strongest. They're falling for it, whispered Mayang, watching the tactical display. They're committing their forces exactly where we want them. On the screen, the hidden human defense platforms activated, catching the Kordu fleet in a carefully planned crossfire. At the same time, smaller, faster human vessels struck at the enemy supply ships and communication relays, tactics straight from Earth's history of naval warfare. They expected us to defend from fixed positions, Jaiwu explained to the alien observers. Instead, we created the impression of strength where we were weak, and struck where they thought we weren't present. The battle raged for 3 days. When it ended, the Kordu had lost nearly a third of their advance fleet while Europa Colony still stood. It was a shocking outcome. No one had successfully defended against a Kordu first assault in living memory. This is just the beginning, warned General Hyunjin. They'll adapt their approach now. So will we, Jaiwu replied. That's what humans do best. In the weeks that followed, the Kordu pushed deeper into the solar system, but each advance was met with new and unexpected resistance. Human military leaders drew on centuries of tactical innovation, guerrilla warfare, asymmetric approaches, and psychological operations that confused Kordu battle computers. Word spread through the galaxy: humans fought unlike any species encountered before. Not with overwhelming technology or numbers, but with cunning, adaptability, and an uncanny ability to think like their enemies. 1 month into the invasion, Jaiwu received an unexpected message in the command center. The Meridian Confederation has dispatched 20 warships to join our defense, Lieutenant Dohayan announced, looking up from his console in surprise. The Brakani have also committed forces, added another officer. They'll arrive within days. Admiral Krell chittered softly, the Vizak equivalent of laughter. It seems your demonstrations were more effective than we realized, Commander Park. Species that have been enemies for centuries are now uniting behind human leadership. They're not joining because they like us, Jaiwu observed. They're joining because they see value in our approach to warfare. Precisely, Krell agreed. For all our advanced technology, we had forgotten what you humans never could, that war is not just about strength, but about how you use it. As more alien vessels arrived to join Earth's defense, Jaiwu felt a strange mix of pride and sadness. Humanity's greatest expertise, born from thousands of years of conflict against themselves, had finally found purpose. Their long, troubled military history had prepared them for this moment when they would teach the stars how to fight more effectively, and perhaps, eventually, how to create peace. The Cordomain fleet is adjusting course, announced General Hyunjin. They're gathering for a direct assault on Earth. Then we'll be ready, Jaiwo said, turning back to the tactical display. The real test was about to begin. The Cordu Supreme Commander stood nearly 3 meters tall, his armor gleaming under the lights of the negotiation chamber. Deep scars crossed his gray face, evidence of countless battles. Yet he looked at Commander Jaiwo Park with something resembling confusion in his 4 yellow eyes. How, he demanded, his translator converting the harsh sounds of his language into human speech. How did your species develop such warfare? Jaiwo maintained her calm demeanor despite being dwarfed by the massive alien. The negotiation chamber aboard the neutral Velrun vessel had been specially designed for this historic meeting. Around them sat representatives from 12 species, including 7 who had joined humanity's defense coalition. 3 weeks had passed since the decisive battle near Earth. The Cordu fleet, the largest invasion force assembled in living memory, had been defeated not through superior firepower but through cunning, misdirection, and strategies that the Cordu battle computers could not predict. My question remains unanswered, human, the Cordu commander pressed. Your technology is inferior. Your fleet is smaller. Your species is younger than any other spacefaring civilization. Yet you forced us to retreat. No one has ever done that. Jaiwo looked at Admiral Krell and the other alien allies who had witnessed humanity's approach to warfare firsthand. They too awaited her answer. We learned from fighting ourselves, she said simply. The Cordu commander's translator relayed her words, and his posture stiffened. Explain. Jaiwo stood and walked to the center of the chamber. For thousands of years, humans primarily fought other humans. We had the same technologies, the same biological strengths and weaknesses. Victory couldn't come from overwhelming force alone, it required strategy, psychology, understanding of terrain, and constant innovation. She activated a holographic display showing Earth's military history, ancient armies clashing with identical weapons, the development of guerrilla tactics, naval warfare evolving over centuries. When forces are evenly matched, Jaiwo continued, you must find advantages beyond simple numbers or technology. You must understand how your enemy thinks, predict their actions, and use their expectations against them. The Cordu commander studied the images with growing comprehension. You mean to say that the horror of your history, your endless conflicts against yourselves, created your military effectiveness? Yes, Jaiwo replied. Our greatest weakness became our greatest strength. The chamber fell silent as the aliens processed this revelation. Several exchanged glances, clearly disturbed by the implications. Our species conquered half the galaxy, the Cordu commander said finally. We never needed to develop such thinking because we always had superior numbers and technology. Until now, Admiral Krell added, his reptilian eyes fixed on the Cordu leader. The Cordu commander turned back to Jaiwo. Your defensive positions at Europa Colony appeared weak but were strong. Your fleet seemed concentrated near Earth but struck our supply lines. Even your communication patterns changed constantly, preventing our analysts from finding patterns. We call it adaptive warfare, Jaiwo explained. No plan survives contact with the enemy, so we train our commanders to think independently and adjust as needed. The Supreme Commander made a sound that his translator didn't convert. And the final battle near your moon, our sensors detected thousands of warships, yet many were merely sensor ghosts. Deception is often more powerful than direct force, Jaiwo replied. We created the impression of strength where we needed you to hesitate. Fascinating, murmured Teho, the Velrun strategist who had joined the human coalition early. Your species turned its violent past into tactical wisdom. Jaiwo nodded. We hope to never need these skills again, but we'll never forget them. The formal peace negotiations continued for hours, establishing boundaries and non-aggression pacts. When they concluded, the Cordu Supreme Commander approached Jaiwo privately. You could have destroyed more of our fleet during our retreat, he observed. Why didn't you? Because the goal was to end the threat, not to destroy your civilization, Jaiwo answered. Total victory often creates the seeds of future conflict. We learned that lesson the hard way too. The commander studied her for a long moment. My species will need to reconsider many things. For millennia, we believed that strength alone determined the right to expand. You have shown us otherwise. 2 days later, as the Corda fleet withdrew from Earth space, Jiwo stood on the observation deck of Orbital Station Unity, watching the massive ships disappear into faster-than-light jumps. Admiral Krell stood beside her, his scaled form reflected in the viewport glass. They will return eventually, he warned. Perhaps not as enemies, but they will return. Your species has sparked too much curiosity. And when they do, we'll be ready, Jiwo replied. But hopefully with words instead of weapons. A new understanding has emerged across the galaxy, Krell said thoughtfully. Humans aren't dangerous despite their limitations, but because of them. You haven't just experienced war, you've mastered it through terrible necessity. Jiwo watched the final Corda ship vanish into the darkness. Perhaps now we can teach something even more valuable than how to fight effectively. And what would that be, Commander Park? How to build lasting peace, she answered. After all, that's the greatest lesson from our violent history, that there are better ways forward than endless conflict. Admiral Krell made a sound that Jiwo had learned was laughter. Always surprising, you humans. Always adapting. The galaxy will never be the same now that you've joined us among the stars. As Earth rotated beneath them, Jiwo thought about the strange irony that humanity's long history of warfare had ultimately helped them secure peace among the stars. Their greatest shame had become their salvation and perhaps, in time, the salvation of all spacefaring species.